Hello and welcome to this Wednesday edition of the World Report. I'm Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. Deposed Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has launched scathing accusations against interim leader Mohammad Yunus, blaming him for unleashing terrorists and creating lawlessness across the country. Hasina's 16-year rule was toppled after a massive student uprising in August last year, forcing her to flee to neighbor India. In a virtual interaction with families of police officers killed during the violent protests, Hasina in fact vowed to return and avenge their deaths. She also accused Yunus of dissolving inquiry committees and questioned his ability to run the interim government. In response, Dhaka reaffirmed its commitment to bringing Hasina back from India and stressed securing Hasina's extradition remains, in fact, its top priority. Meanwhile, a UN report says nearly 1,400 people died during the unrest that led to Hasina's ouster in August last year. A student's death at a top university in Odisha has triggered tensions between India and Nepal, along with campus protests and arrests. Prakriti Lamsal, a 20-year-old Nepali student at the KIIT Bhubaneswar, was found dead in a hostel room over the weekend. Initially, it was ruled to be a suicide. However, allegations of abuse by a fellow student, supported by a disturbing viral audio clip, led to the arrest of 5 individuals. But all arrested individuals, this includes 3 directors and 2 guards, in fact, have now been granted bail. Protests by Nepali students were met with force, sparking outrage after university officials made derogatory remarks about the country. Nepal's government has warned of halting students' admissions to Odisha universities if the issue is not resolved justly. Meanwhile, Odisha's government has launched a probe, while KIIT has apologized, urging Nepali students to return back to campus. Reports suggest that renowned EV manufacturer Tesla is advancing its entry into the Indian market by securing showroom spaces in Mumbai and New Delhi. The development follows a recent meeting between Tesla's CEO Elon Musk and PM Narendra Modi, where discussions encompass space exploration, mobility and technology. In fact, Tesla has chosen a site already in New Delhi's posh Aerocity area, strategically located near the international airport. On the other hand, the company has earmarked a space in the Bandra Kurla complex. It's a prominent business district in the financial capital, Mumbai. US President Donald Trump has defended the Department of Government Efficiency's decision, in fact, to cancel a $21 million fund designated for quote-unquote voter turnout in India, saying that India, with its growing economy and high taxation rates, does not need such financial support. Here's what the US President had to say.
And $21 million for voter turnout in India. Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about, like, voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did 500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes. $20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal. Listen to these numbers. This is all fraud.
Meanwhile, European and other world leaders, in fact, plan to hold a second emergency summit in Paris on Wednesday. This as pressure grows to forge a cohesive response to US President Donald Trump's divisive plan to end the war in Ukraine. France planned to host a second meeting to discuss Ukraine and European security on Wednesday, but has this time, in fact, invited European countries not present earlier this week, and even NATO ally Canada, as per reports. As per reports, again, those invited include Norway, Canada, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, and the Czech Republic, Greece, Finland, Romania, Sweden, and Belgium. Further adding that the format would be hybrid, including video participation this time over. Prakash Patel, a longtime ally of US President Donald Trump, is in fact one step closer to becoming the next FBI director. The Senate voted 48-45 to advance Patel's nomination, with a final confirmation vote expected in the coming days. If confirmed, Patel will lead the agency for a 10-year term. Known for his loyalty to Trump, Patel has in fact pledged to pursue Trump's adversaries and plans to shut down the FBI's Washington headquarters on his first day at the job, turning it into what he calls a deep state museum. The U.S. Senate has confirmed wealthy financier Howard Lutnick as the new Commerce Secretary. Lutnick will now oversee the Commerce Department's 50,000 employees, handling everything from economic data collection to census operations. A key challenge ahead is managing the president's aggressive tariff policies aimed at pressuring U.S. trading partners. At his confirmation hearing, Lutnick dismissed concerns that tariffs drive inflation and backed across-the-board tariffs to force other nations, in fact, to lower trade barriers. Lutnick's approach is expected to significantly shape U.S. trade relations moving forward. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump is considering imposing 25% tariffs on key imports like automobiles, semiconductors, and even pharmaceuticals. The new duties could be announced as early as the 2nd of April. This is as per a Western media report, and are expected to in fact widen the ongoing trade war affecting consumer products. Trump previously, for perspective, also introduced 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium, which are set to in fact take place in March. His latest proposal marks the most detailed outline yet of sectors facing fresh trade barriers. This also reflects on a significant shift in U.S. trade policy that could very well impact global markets. The United States has condemned what it calls dangerous maneuvers by a Chinese Navy helicopter in the South China Sea. The incident involved a Chinese aircraft flying dangerously close, in fact, to a Philippine government plane conducting surveillance over the disputed Scarborough Shoal, putting the safety of pilots and passengers at risk. The Philippines labeled the actions reckless and, in fact, plans a diplomatic protest. Meanwhile, Beijing denied the accusations, claiming the Philippine aircraft had illegally intruded into China's airspace and accused Manila, in fact, of spreading false narratives. The U.S., in the meantime, has urged China to avoid coercion and resolve disputes peacefully under international law. And Panama is holding 299 migrants deported from the United States under President Donald Trump's immigration policies. The migrants from 10 mostly Asian countries, including India, Pakistan, China, and Afghanistan, are confined in a hotel under police watch awaiting repatriation. Over 40% of them have refused to return voluntarily, prompting the UN and International Organization for Migration to seek third-country solutions. The U.S. is covering all costs under a migration agreement announced after Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit. Panama's government insists the migrants aren't detained despite restrictions on their movement.
Se acordó el recibir 299 personas que venían de Estados Unidos para que fueran repatriados a sus respectivos países de origen y que esto se iba a hacer a través de la Organización Internacional de las Migraciones y el ACNUR, ambas oficinas de Naciones Unidas. Como manera de prevención, estas personas no pueden circular por nuestro país precisamente para garantizar la seguridad y la paz de los ciudadanos panameños. Nosotros les brindamos a ellos todas las atenciones necesarias, médicas, alimenticias, ¿verdad? Y de comodidad, y lo seguiremos haciendo hasta que el último de ellos salga de nuestro país, que es lo que se pactó con el gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
The Pope Francis has been diagnosed with double pneumonia after further tests showed a continuing complex medical situation, the Vatican said in a statement on Tuesday. The 88-year-old pontiff underwent a chest X-ray which demonstrated the onset of bilateral pneumonia that required further pharmacological therapy. Pope Francis had been hospitalized, in fact, in Rome since the 14th of February after battling a respiratory infection for more than 1 week. Over in West Asia, Hamas says it will hand over the bodies of 4 hostages on Thursday, including the 2 youngest people held by the Palestinian militant group. In exchange, Israel will free all women and those under the ages of 19 arrested since last October, in fact, and is even allowing some rubble clearing equipment into Gaza through the border with Egypt. Brazil's prosecutor general has filed charges against former President hired Bolsonaro for allegedly plotting a coup to stay in power after losing the 2022 election to President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Prosecutors say Bolsonaro and 33 others, in fact, tried to undermine trust in the electoral system, drafted a decree to legitimize the plan, pressured military leaders, and eventually incited riots inside the capital. The federal police's 884-page report outlines charges of attempting a coup, violently removing the rule of law, and even forming a criminal organization. Bolsonaro now faces serious legal consequences if convicted. As time we slip into a short break, see you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching the World Report on NDTV with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Fast food giant KFC is moving its U.S. corporate headquarters from Louisville, Kentucky to Plano in Texas. Parent company Yum Brands says the move is part of a strategy to create two main hubs, in fact, Plano for KFC and Pizza Hut, while Taco Bell and Habit Burger and Grill will remain in Irvine, California. About 100 corporate employees and dozens of remote workers will have to relocate with support provided by the company. The decision comes as more companies are drawn to Texas for its lower taxes and business-friendly environment. However, Kentucky's Governor Andy Beshear has criticized the move. Yum Brands will continue to maintain its corporate offices and the KFC Foundation, in fact, in Louisville. Meanwhile, Chevron plans to cut up 20% of its global workforce, affecting roughly 40,000 employees. That's right, 20% workforce affecting roughly 40,000 employees. The announcement came during an internal town hall shortly after celebrating its success as Colorado's top oil and gas producers. Executives cited rising cost, complicated business processes, and in fact, slowed decision-making as reasons for the layoffs. While some employees said the cuts were expected, Chevron's leadership, on the other hand, emphasized the need for streamlining operations to keep pace with competitors. The layoffs, for perspectives, are part of a broader restructuring strategy in the company aimed at boosting its financial performance altogether. Japan's chip materials maker Remark Holdings is gearing up for acquisitions after successfully reducing its debt. CEO Hidehito Takahashi told Reuters that the company plans to take an aggressive approach this year. A key focus for Remark is participating when a state-backed fund exits from industry peer JSR, which was taken private last year as a part of a push for consolidation in the sector. Takahashi emphasized that since it's a fund, an eventual exit is expected. And Remark, in fact, aims to play a role in that transition, signaling potential shakeups in Japan's chip materials industry. Asian stocks wavered after the S&P 500 in European markets hit record highs. This as US President Donald Trump renewed tariff threats. Now, Trump announced plans for 25% or higher tariffs, in fact, on pharmaceuticals, semiconductor chips, and auto imports, potentially starting as soon as the 2nd of April this year. Now, these moves follow existing tariffs, including a 10% levy on all imports from China. Despite the threats, market reactions were muted, with investors viewing them as a negotiation tactic. Meanwhile, the US dollar strengthened as geopolitical concerns, especially over the US-Russia talks in Ukraine, prompted safe haven buying. Elon Musk's AI startup xAI has introduced its latest artificial intelligence model, Grok 3, claiming it outperforms rivals like OpenAI and China's DeepSeek. Early tests reveal Grok 3 excelling in math, science, and even coding. Musk described the model as a quote-unquote scary smart model at Dubai's World Government Summit. Highlighting its powerful reasoning abilities, starting Tuesday, Grok 3 will be available to premium subscribers on Musk's social media platform X, with a separate subscription for web and app versions. Additionally, xAI has announced a new product, Deep Search, positioned as a next-generation search engine. Former OpenAI Chief Technology Officer Meera Murati has launched a new AI startup, Thinking Machines Lab, bringing about 30 top researchers and engineers from OpenAI, Meta, and Mistral. Notably, two-thirds of her team are former OpenAI employees, including Barrett Zoff, who left OpenAI the same day, in fact, as Murati, and will now serve as the startup's technology chief. OpenAI co-founder John Schulman also joins as chief scientist, having left the company for Anthropic last year to focus on AI alignment. Thinking Machines Lab aims to develop AI systems that encode human values and offer broader applications, in fact, than existing competitors. Saronic Technologies has secured $600 million in a Series C funding round, pushing its valuation to $4 billion now. The fundraising was led by prominent investor Elard Gill. The autonomous shipbuilding firm plans to use the funds to construct a new shipyard, Port Alpha, which will help extend its fleet of autonomous surface vehicles into medium and large class ships designed for US defense purposes. Now, additionally, Saronic aims to also develop hybrid fleets for the US Navy by combining unmanned systems with manned platforms, further strengthening its role in advanced naval technology. Private equity firm Silver Lake is reportedly in exclusive talks to acquire a majority stake in Intel's programmable chip unit, Altera. Sources familiar with the matter say the deal could value Altera at around $9 billion. Intel had originally purchased the company in 2015 for nearly $17 billion. Now, the sale would provide Intel with a much-needed cash injection as the chipmaker works to cut costs. While Silver Lake declined to comment, Intel has yet to respond. Other firms like Bain Capital and Francisco Partners had also, in fact, shown interest in the stakes. Queen Camilla, patron of the UK's National Theatre, hosted a reception to celebrate the work of its staff and actors on Tuesday. Now, the Queen welcomed guests at the Buckingham Palace, including entertainers Kate Blanchett, Leslie Manville, Dame Imelda Staunton, Jim Carter, James Corden, and of course, Andrew Garfield. Camilla was thanked for allowing the National Theatre to invade Buckingham Palace for the reception, which included singing, speeches, poetry, and even performances. Sir Simon Russell Beale performed a monologue, and the Queen was later surprised with a scene from one of her favourite plays, The Importance of Being Earnest. The Queen became patron of the National Theatre in 2022. The role was previously held by the Duchess of Sussex from 2019 to 2021, and prior to that by Queen Elizabeth II.